Welcome back to Mindful Endeavors. I am your host, New Age Alchemist. Joining us today is NorCal Tenkara. So, really quick before we begin, just a quick disclaimer that anything we talk about mental health here, it's not to be taken as medical advice. We are not mental health professionals. We're just here to talk about the subject, the outdoors, and any other hobbies that might provide some kind of mental decompression and some kind of a lightheartedness to the issue. If you do need help, we encourage you to seek it. And of course, we encourage these conversations to keep going. Now, with that being said, NorCal, I met you in the fishing community, and that's where I'm meeting actually quite a bit of my guests. But it's really quick, introduce yourself.
Hi. Yeah, thanks. My name's Nick. Um, I go by NorCal Tenkara. That's like an ever expanding thing. I found tenkara as a form of fishing to use through ultralight backpacking and just fell in love.
Yeah, that's awesome because it's something that I never even knew. Like, I didn't even know where that came from. And even this was like, when we followed each other on Instagram and then I think you commented on one of my posts and kind of went from there. That's when we started like talking about that. So
I think it was when you started catching a bunch of panfish and bluegill, and I was like, boy, you need to catch those on a tenkara rod because that will just change your life.
yeah, and then you're talking about the ultra light aspect of it, which I would definitely assume that it's like something that you can have like in terms of like a bug out bag or just some kind of
Ex-
survival thing.
exactly. My main rod is 360 centimeters, so it's about 12 feet, but it collapses down to about 21 inches and it weighs 2.3 ounces.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, it's basically nothing. I put that in the side pocket of my backpack and don't even notice it's there. But then when we're doing creek crossings or filling up water and maybe I see a little fish in the water, I can take it out in just a couple minutes and take a couple casts, maybe catch a little fish. Usually I'm only targeting little fish, yay big. Once in a while I get into some good ones, but hey, it's fun.
So would you be able to get like some kind of like maybe like a 12-inch trout like off of that like or
Oh yeah, I it's actually it's a Japanese form of fly fishing. And they mostly use it in small creeks, but the backpacking that my girlfriend and I do here in Northern California, we primarily go to these high mountain lakes. And I find it perfect for there because most of the time the fish are right in the 25-foot range that you really get with the tenkara rod. And
mm.
the biggest one I've got so far is a 19-inch rainbow trout. So
Oh, there you go. Did you weigh
yeah.
it?
No, I don't bring a scale.
Yeah, it probably would. What do you think it would weigh? Like maybe 3 pounds, 4 pounds,
Probably 3 pounds.
three pounds.
It was from the tips of my fingers to my elbow, and it
Okay,
was I couldn't wrap my hand around it. I'll have to send you some pictures.
definitely. So there you go. I mean, like that. I think that would be a perfect like survival, uh, perfect equipment to have for your survival. And all that stuff. Because we did make an episode here before. It was right around the time where Texas kind of they went through that like freezing like little like the week that with everything froze and
Yeah,
we're talking just about like preparedness and stuff like that both like for those type of situations and then also in case you were on the wilderness for whatever reason and that's definitely sounds like something like that you should have just as something
yeah.
but
It's the simplicity of it is the greatest part. It's all you need is the rod, a strand of line, and a fly. There's no reel. It's all just it's kind of like a cane pole mixed with a fly rod. It's all intuitive. You just kind of lean. It's hard to explain what you do. You just kind of lean back and let it all take over. It's pretty neat.
what pounds test do you use or what's the poundage on that?
Um, I use what's it level line, fly line. I use a 4 weight. I'm not exactly sure what that exactly translates to. I've never gotten into Western fly fishing. I've tried it
Mm,
probably 3 times.
mm,
I just didn't really think it was for me. When I got really into backpacking, I used a telescoping spinning rod. I used like a little 6 foot ultralight with a little fluger reel. Thought that was just great. Had a lot of fun. But I found myself killing a few too many trout for my liking, just accidentally gill hooking them, or sometimes it's unpreventable, unfortunately. So I
mm.
really looked more into barbless and flies, and um, then when I got into ultralight backpacking, that led me into the Reddit rabbit hole that led me to tenkara. And I don't even need to bring a reel, you say? Here we are.
Yeah, less weight. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like, there's something to be said about simplicity because I think this applies to a lot of things. Like I know it applies to cooking. That's something I'm also very passionate about. But like the more simple the recipe, the more the ingredients shine, and the more you really like taste the ingredients. Whether you mix them together in some, you know,
exactly.
some form of alchemy and stuff to produce the dish, or if you're just trying to highlight a certain ingredient, like simple is key, right?
Exactly. That's just the most relaxing part of it is there's no, I don't know if you fly fish, there's all kinds of extra line getting bound up at your feet and getting tangled in it sometimes. And it's just, excuse me, when you're out there with the tenkara rod, it's just, and a lot of the places that I'm at, it's beautiful, peaceful. We're the only ones around for miles. And it's just the most relaxing form of fishing that I've ever done in my life. And
Yeah,
when
I
you
mean,
hook one, it's just so exciting.
absolutely, especially when you're because I think the first time I started fishing, I was just using like 8 pound, monofilament on a spinning 6'6" spinning rod, and it was a light rod, and I caught a 4 pound bass on that, and just with the four, I think I only had like the drag was like 4 pounds, so
Oh,
just the
yeah.
fight of that was just insane, and it was like like a good adrenaline rush that I got and everything, and just recently I'm starting to try to get carp on same thing about 15, well, not 10 pound, but then now a 15 pound line. I'm trying to get
Nice.
carp, and I hear that they fight real hard, so that on a medium rod, trying to get that
Back when
rush
I
again.
was back when I was younger and I did a lot more bass fishing, on the slow summer days when the carp were up in shallow water, I'd be lying if I said we didn't try to foul hook them in the tail and get like a 15, 20-minute fight out of them. Their carp are too much fun sometimes.
Yeah, and because I used to live in California, and I used to go what is it, deep sea fishing. One time, I mean, these were guided trips, and it was already close to the time to start to head on shore. I still cast it out right before he called. That's it, like we're done. So then, like 10, I don't know, maybe like 5 minutes in, like he's like, all right, we're done. I'm all right, fine. So I start reeling, and then I see a fish trying to fight me, right? Then all of a sudden the boat is going, and I'm just like trying to fight the fish. I'm like, dude, I got a big one. I got a big one. I'm like fighting it for like a good like 10 minutes. My forearms are getting tired, and all of a sudden it's like I finally get it out of the water. It's like a little fish, like probably not even like 4 inches big, but because the fish was swimming to the left and or swimming one way, and then
Yeah.
the boat was going the opposite direction. It's like it did not help my case at all.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, so it was a much more fight than it should have been, and I mean, but I can definitely see like how it's it's very challenging, right? And that was the first time I was like, okay, I can see fishing as a sport. It's definitely a
Oh
sport.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah.
so you go backpacking. I mean, did you always like plan on backpacking with like fishing? Do you camp out there, or, just go see
Um,
stuff and come back?
like I've always been fishing first, and I've been fishing pretty much my whole life, mostly like trout growing up, and then I transitioned to bass, and now I'm getting back into trout. But
Mm.
when I met my girlfriend, she'd been doing all kinds of crazy solo hiking sections of the PCT, and she pitched the idea of backpacking to me, and I was like, "Oh, well, where do you go most of the times?" And she said, "Oh, usually to a lake. Are there fish in these lakes?" And she said, "Yeah." So instantly, I'm sold. And yeah, a couple trips in, and we're going to these high mountain lakes, just catching brook trout after brook trout after brook trout. Just okay, sign me up. I never want to look back. And yeah,
Have you ever
you
tried doing a catch and cook there? Or?
sometimes we do. It's hard to rely on that. It seemed like in the beginning we tried that a lot, and it was the trips where we would intend to eat fish that I wouldn't catch any fish, and the trips that we would bring other dinner, it would be the trips where we catch 45 trout or something, and it's like okay, like that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So now I don't intend to keep any of them. If we are fishing sometime next year, we're gonna set out and do the Pacific Crest Trail, and if I catch some fish, maybe for the lunch, I could see that. But I
Mm.
probably won't intend on any dinners. But extra calories
Dang.
for lunch, heck yes. We
Yeah,
did
and the
that
trout are pretty. No, go ahead.
last year on the Tahoe Rim Trail. There was one afternoon where I did hook into like I think 6 or so trout and cook those up for lunch. You can't beat those calories when you're out on the trail.
No, I mean, I would say you can't beat a good trout any day, really.
Yeah, especially yeah, if
Yeah.
you're eating mashed potatoes and dehydrated food for a couple days and you get some nice just fresh trout. Oh yeah.
How long do these little backpack, well, because I say little because I mean when I think of backpacking, like the only time I've ever heard of that is really like when people like go like, oh well, I'm gonna go backpack through Europe or something like that, like something really
Yeah.
expensive. But
Um
like how long does like that one trip will last?
a lot of the time we do just because it's what our working schedules allow for now. We do a
Hmm.
lot of overnight trips and weekend trips, but a couple times a summer we'll do a excuse me, a 1 week or a 2 week long trip. Last
Hmm.
year we did the Tahoe Rim Trail. That's a if you're familiar with Lake Tahoe, it's a trail all the way around the crest of Lake Tahoe. It's about 165, 170 miles.
Yeah.
And that took us 10 days, probably 11 with a resupply, I think. And the Tahoe Rim Trail, or sorry, the Pacific Crest Trail next year, that one's 2,600 miles, and that one's going to take about 5 or 6 months.
5 or 6 months.
Yeah, we're getting everything in line though to be able to. I think the biggest hurdle was going to be just financially, but I think we've got it all figured out, and as long as we can keep, as long as no catastrophic things happen between now and then, we'll be able to
it's
do it.
it's a little odd though, like because right now you said like as long as the funds are there, right? And it's kind of a little bit odd because when you're trying to disconnect like from like this, all these like structure, I guess you could call them like concrete jungles and stuff like that, like trying to disconnect and go back to nature. It costs money to do that, right? So it's like
It costs
kind of
less
weird.
than living here, though. I mean,
Yeah.
because but yeah, everything costs money. That's the unfortunate nature of it. I wish that there would be a way to just like forage the whole trip,
Hmm.
but I don't think that's realistic at all. That's how you eat the wrong kind of mushroom and wind
End
up
up
with a movie
dying.
made about you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well that's probably
Yeah, it
worse. The
was
fact the movie.
what's that Chris McCann list, the Into the Wild. Have you
Hmm.
heard about him?
Yeah.
Yeah, allegedly, yeah, he ate I think a like an Alaskan potato or something. But anyway, I digress.
No, but there is something spiritual about like going back to nature though, and I'm pretty sure, like even though yeah, it's a struggle bus, to go through that backpacking trip, but at the same time you get enjoyment out of it because you keep going back, right? So obviously
Yeah, it's
you
so
enjoy it.
rewarding. It's so rewarding when you get to the places. Usually you're all alone. You get just a beautiful lake or a beautiful meadow to yourself, and once in a while you do have some company. But generally, when you're out there, it's the kind of people that you run into are the kind of people that also enjoy the type 2 fun, the kind of people that you're okay with sitting around. Though lately we have been running into a lot of across the lake. It seems like the last couple weekends there's been someone every trip having a campfire, and there's
Mm.
multiple signs that we pass. I don't know if anybody's aware. We're in a big drought here in California, and there's multiple signs that you pass everywhere on the way to the trailhead and at the trailhead that say no campfires, restrictions. But yeah, I don't know how to police that when I'm out there in the middle. Like, there's no service. I don't. It's the kind of people that, yeah, I don't know. They're the kind of people that are having a campfire. I don't know if they're the kind of people that would be so keen if I tried to go have a negotiation with them about it.
Yeah, it's tough. And like I've had hunters, I've had bow hunters, I've had rifle hunters, I've had other kinds of all kinds of outdoorsmen on so far, and this podcast is still young, but I've had quite a bit of diversity in terms of the outdoors, and I mean they all kind of agree. It's like if you're going to go out there, you need to respect where you're at because
Yeah,
people take it for granted often, and I think that's one of the things where it's like, okay, well, there's the signs are there for a reason. Like, there's wildlife experts that, you know, they're not dumb. Like they're put them there for a reason. And you often, especially in California, you often hear how many times that, suspected arson just because some guy,
yeah,
lit a campfire and then it just went all crazy.
yeah. If they say no campfires, no campfires. If they say you need a bear bag or a bear canister, do it. Like I'm not all about rules, 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 but most of the rules in the forest are like they're there for a reason. They're there to protect the woods for everyone else. If pack it in, pack it out, all that, like it's not
Mhm.
hard. Just
No,
do
not
your
at all.
part.
Yeah, and like the thing that upsets me the most is like, yeah, because I mean the fact that we live right now in a time where everything's politicized, but I think for the most part, everybody can agree that trash is something you can easily be accountable for, and it's definitely an issue that
Yeah.
plagues nature right now because like I go on some trails here, and then there's like soda cups, that look like they've been there for maybe, I don't know, like a year and almost still intact, just a little bit crushed or something. And yeah, so it's one of those things where, or like the worst I've seen was like I've seen like literally a box of beer with all the cans like just thrown around it, and it's like the box is there, like you just put everything back in there,
I
and
see that too. And it's like you were able to carry it down there with the full weight of the beers. But then when you've drank the beers and it's way lighter, it's somehow harder to carry. That's the part.
right.
Yeah, I don't understand that one. The empty beers next to the beer. I'm like, come on, guys.
No, exactly, and that's that frustrates the hell out of me, but at the same time I laugh, because it's like, really, like, you brought a 30 pack, like how much did that come
Yeah.
like weight just coming back down from the trail,
Yeah,
and taking it up
exactly.
would be lighter, and it's like, what the hell?
You lugged that this whole way and now it's essentially light as a feather and you can't carry it back.
Yeah, man, it's like, and it's little things like this that it makes it, like you said, like we don't necessarily want to be in like rules, but it's because of these little events or I don't know why I keep saying the word little, but these events that keep happening like this, that we can't have nice things, like the whole cliche, like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
And the outdoors, we got like, there's very, like, because we're now, I guess, civilized or whatever, and we have societies now, and a lot of the stuff that used to be land is now concrete, so we have a finite amount of wildlife, finite amount of like forests and things like that. We need to protect that.
Yeah. And I've read a couple extreme sides that I don't necessarily agree with, and some maybe I'll get flamed for not agreeing with.
Mm-hmm.
One is I don't personally pack out my used toiletries per se.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do. That's a big thing. I dig a cat hole, bury it. I was at the river the other day and I came across just a pile of toilet paper everywhere. And I mean, if you're gonna leave it out there, can you please at least bury it? Because I mean, I
Right.
can't say that I pack out my toilet paper, but I do at least bury it like like a foot down, or is like, come on, it was like a whole roll. It's horrible.
Yeah, I think it's I equate that to like glamping, right? Like, people that want to like get the so-called experience of camping outdoors, but then
Yeah,
they do it next to a restroom, or they bring toilet paper, and it's like, well, you're not really camping, like, it's like it's not the same thing, like, and especially like
yeah.
you said, when you just leave it all around, like, it's not good.
I also read one recently that said bright colored t-shirts, which I'm a huge fan of, and bright colored just shoes and clothing. Well, it's a huge thing in the backpacking community, but that goes against leave no trace because it's unnatural colors and it's colors that animals aren't used to seeing. And
Oh, wow.
I I just think that's like way too extreme of an argument for leave no trace. Like,
Yeah, I didn't even know that, like, to be honest, because I know that like orange is like a color that apparently most animals can't really see, so that's why,
oh, I
like,
didn't know that.
yeah, apparently, like, it's a so like I know, like, hunters, like, they'll put the orange vest on, but it serves two purposes. One, to other hunters could see them, but two, like, the benefit of that is that the animals won't see the orange, even though it's like bright, right? But apparently they can't see
Interesting.
orange.
I thought it was just so that other hunters could see it, and if animals see it, like, so be it. Like, that's one of the things. Like, you'd rather not shoot a hunter than
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
spook an animal. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want you don't want that kind of conflict out there,
yeah,
because at
I
least if you
think maybe spooking a deer is worth not getting shot to me. So
absolutely, yeah. No, yeah, and but these are all definitely things that we need to keep in mind, and I think part of it is not being like exposed to this information. Like, um, there's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to bash on anyone specifically or anything or any type of people, but like there's a lot of people that oftentimes they don't get outdoors, and I've talked about this. Well, one of our group, yeah, one of the people in our group, what's his name, Captain Wildlife. Like he's talked about like how a bunch of people like they're always in the cubicle and all stuff like that, and when they want to go out into nature, they don't realize that nature is not something you want to mess with, and you take
Yeah.
it for granted. So
That's the
oftentimes it
people
get
that
Robin.
that's the people that go to like Yellowstone and try to take pictures of the bison.
Yeah, and there
Like
oftentimes you see them like on some kind
yeah,
of
they get
videos going
bucked or
viral.
something. Like
Yeah,
it
like you
ain't
see them
good.
going viral because like an animal, like I don't know, tried biting their ear off or something. It's like, yeah.
Nature's scary, but most of the time I'll say that nature doesn't want to hurt you, but
Mm.
don't get up in nature's face trying to see what it is either.
Well, that's the problem. Like a lot of people think the deer like are like these beautiful. I mean, they're definitely beautiful, but they're like these super they have no harm, not violent bone in their bodies and stuff like that. But then you see videos of like two like bull elk just going at it like to try to like get
Oh,
hurt
just like
females or
a
something like that.
not even an elk, like just a whitetail will mess you up during like the what is it called, the rut. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen some what I was house sitting for like my godmother one time as a younger kid, and I let her dog out to use the bathroom, and there was a big old angry buck in her yard, and that thing tried to mess up her dog, and then it tried to mess up me. It was a whole bad story. Like, uh, deers are pretty
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, exactly. And like even like, I mean, you could see it even like in the city, like with the raccoon, like like and oftentimes you see raccoons like was it and like on TV you'll see sometimes raccoons being like really cute and everything, and yeah they'll show their claws or whatever, but you don't see how aggressive those things are until you meet one in person. Like they're super aggressive.
That was like, did you? I'm not sure if you saw. I posted a live stream a few weeks ago from the top of Black Butte, and there's this little chipmunk up there, and he was friendly as can be, but I was like, I know people. I realize now people feed them up there, which is horrible too.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm seeing this friendly little chipmunk, and yeah, it's adorable. This thing wants to come up and hang out with me, but at the same time, does it have rabies? Is it gonna like jump on me like a little face hugger? Like, what's this little chipmunk about to like? They got little sharp claws, little sharp teeth. I don't know if this thing latch onto my beard and mess me up.
Yeah, and like lately I've been hearing reports of like rats and squirrels in New York City since a bunch of people like they bugged out, they're moving to Florida. Like the those kind of rodents are all of a sudden they're teaming up now and attacking humans now because
Oh
there's
gosh.
no food scraps anymore, like because like there was before. So they're all going hungry. So they're like, all right, we see this person, let's try to eat them, and they'll go in gangs and yeah,
Jeez. Got packs
yeah,
of rats.
packs of rats, and I think squirrels as well. I think I'm pretty sure I've read that it was squirrels as well that were
Squirrels be
doing that.
crazy. You can get aerial, like they'll drop down from the trees.
Yeah, have you seen there's a picture supposedly that when they land like all like Iron Man, like kind of like with that
No.
awesome glorious landing. Like apparently that's how they
That's too
actually
funny.
land.
Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
and
to
I don't know
look up
how they
that.
what happened.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That's funny. I gotta see some pictures of that.
Yeah, dude, I saw it in a meme somewhere. I'll definitely try to look for it as well because
Yeah,
like
send
yeah,
me that.
it was hilarious to see that like this is how squirrels act. This is not art. Like this is not drawn. This is how squirrels actually land. I'm like, no freaking way. Like you saw different. There was like I think three squirrels in that meme that at different times and stuff like that. Like just kind of like
That's
what
too
the
funny.
yeah man. Nature's a hoot, dude, and we gotta. That's the reason why we gotta respect it because we need that kind of biodiversity.
Right? That's like it just blows my mind that brook trout exist in nature. Just the colors and the patterns on those things. Just like I understand like brown trout and rainbow trout have camouflage and I get that. But brook trout, what are you like you're blending in with underwater wildflowers? Like ooh, they're the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And somehow that's camouflage. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. What is it? I was gonna say? I was thinking of a specific animal that does some kind of weird camouflage stuff, and but it's not like where it like changes color or blends in the environment. Like it does something weird. I forgot. I think I'm not even sure the animal exists now. Come to think of it, but yeah, like it's weird because like you see like how like the brook trout, like you said, like it camouflages with the wildflowers and how it like adapted or evolved or somehow became to existence to be able to do that. Like insane.
Yeah, or just weird colored pebbles made it camouflage to the like, because yeah, like they're like green with spots with blue halos around them and white tipped fins. Like, what is that? What are you camouflaging with? You're nothing. You're just beautiful. Why? Just because nature. It's crazy.
Yeah, and not to kind of like go off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's still kind of relevant. The only trout I've ever caught, because I've actually tried targeting trout in December here in Texas. It's the only time that they'll stock them, and because it's cold enough for them to survive.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't catch anything during that time. However, I think what was it? It was probably around that time that I went. It was either around that time or in April that I went to California, and I just happened to fish one day, and all of a sudden, like I caught a trout, but I didn't catch him on purpose because I threw a red rattle trap, because I was fishing for bass,
Yeah.
and it looked like the trout got like side hooked. I don't know if he actually went for the rattle trap because it was hooked like a little bit on the cheek. The hook kind of went a little bit
Maybe
in
he
there.
just smacked it, but hey, a catch is a catch.
Well, I was terrified because like I was struggling because I mean I know how delicate trout are, and I was struggling to take that treble hook out, and I was even stabbing myself because now the trout's moving and everything. And then when I finally got it off, it fell into the grass. I mean, to the dirt and everything, and I was able to pick it up. At least I got a picture, right? And I posted the picture, and one of my friends that is a fly fisher, fly angler, she tagged this other girl and was like, "Oh, look, you're something about like, oh, look at this. Like, doesn't this strike a chord or something like that?" And I'm just like, "Am I in trouble?" And I messaged my friend like privately, and she was
Yeah.
like, "No, it's just because fly anglers get a little upset when you like mishandle trout." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I didn't do it on purpose."
Yeah. You weren't even trying to catch the trout. That's
Yeah, yeah,
some
that's why I
people
told her.
are like way too sensitive. Like you have a license to fish. Like fish your own fish. Don't worry so much about other people.
Yeah, I mean, and like the thing is, like, it was like, I mean, luckily, so when I threw it back into the water, it was like floating for like 20 seconds. And I'm like, damn, that thing is dead. I was about to like throw my rod just to try to like, poke it
Yeah.
towards me so I can pick it back up and just take it home. But then eventually started swimming. So I was like, okay, I'm good. But it
That's
was
good.
yeah,
And
and it was a legit
even if
catch.
they swim off and like they are wounded or they are die, like something's gonna eat that. It's not like it's wasted. It's just a circle of life. Maybe instead of hunting for a big, strong, healthy trout, now a raccoon's just gonna eat that dead trout that's laying there. So
Yeah, and speaking of that,
think
so
about it like that.
and yeah, and like that actually happened to me last week when I was catfishing. So I was catfishing, and like the person that told me, I was thinking in terms of trout, right? So like the trout, sorry, carp. The carp will get it and they'll bend the rod and they'll just keep bending because they fight harder, right? They fight pretty hard.
Yeah.
But so I saw my rod kind of bending forward and just kind of, and I was like, all right, so I got something, but then it would stop. And I'm like, okay, so probably I didn't get anything. Turns out I did have a fish on, but because it was hooked and then it gave out, and it was a smaller catfish. It was like maybe like
Yeah.
6-7 inches, you know. So it wasn't strong enough to keep the pressure on the rod. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna reel it in just because I thought, I'm just gonna reset up my bait and just throw it back out there. I reel it in and I see that there's a fish on, so I'm like, okay, now I set the hook and I'm reeling in, and turns out he was gut hooked by the time.
Oh.
So yeah. And because of the barb, like you said, like I wasn't able to really save him. So I mean, it looked like I did, but later on I found him floating, and then a turtle was just like taking it, away. So that turtle was definitely gonna have a good meal.
Yeah. Would you rather that turtle go hunt for a big, healthy catfish? No, have it eat the one that's already dead, man. Just things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. Plus it's fresh, right? I mean, it didn't die that long ago, so
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's a circle of life.
Yeah, I met up with some people fishing a couple weeks ago, and we got there, and there were some other people who were already fishing, and there were some dead trout in the water, but if you looked at them, you couldn't really tell for sure if they died that day or if they died like so. I don't know, and they were all stocked trout. So who? I don't want to say it like that, but who really is going to get that mad about that anyway?
Mhm.
But yeah, it did kind of still strike a nerve, but um, something's going to eat those trout instead of wild trout. So I'm
Yeah,
happier knowing that.
yeah, and I think um, I mean, like you said, like something else is gonna eat it, right? But I think I guess to the other side of that argument, it's like, well, you're out there catching and releasing. You want to try to mitigate the amount of damage you do or the amount of pain you give to a fish, right? But like you said,
Yeah,
sometimes you can't avoid it. Like if when you're just casting out, you don't know what's in front from here in front of your lure, and then as you're retrieving it,
yeah,
something gets in the way. That's not really your
yeah. You
fault.
can't you can't control how that fish bites it or yeah, how aggressively he wants to eat it. All that's out of your control. There's a there's a small part of me that has this weird theory that fish are highly aware of exactly what they're doing and that they know we're fishing for them and they know what a hook is. And it's kind of like us going skydiving. We know the inherent risks and
Hmm.
that maybe your parachute might not open, maybe you'll die. Maybe the fish, maybe he bites the hook, maybe he gets kept that day and doesn't get to swim back. But maybe he does and has a really cool story to tell his friends. So you never know. Food for thought. We don't know what kind of hierarchies animals have.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because I know we're not the only animals to actually ferment food. Because there's other animals that actually do. I think dogs and wolves, maybe not so much wolves, but I know dogs. Some of them still do this because they're really highly domesticated. But some of them instinctively will like bury meat, and
Hmm.
then like they'll bury meat for like a few days, and then it gets fermented, and then they'll eat it after.
Hmm.
There's different. There's a certain type of I don't know if it's a squirrel. It kind of looks more like a raccoon that basically eats like the cocoa butter from like cocoa trees or not this, sorry, I'm confusing things. They eat the stuff that's around the coffee beans. So they eat the whole coffee bean, but they only digest the stuff around it. So then they essentially poop the coffee bean, but by then it goes through their gut, which kind of ferments it, and then
Hmm.
apparently it's turns out like there's both people and other animals that kind of eat the coffee beans once they are extracted. Well, they don't eat the beans, but they clean them up and then they grind them up and they turn them
Yeah.
into coffee. And apparently, it's the best coffee in the world or something like that.
I'll
Like
take their word for that. Interesting.
yeah. I'll send you the article for that. It was an article that had
Please,
like
that's interest. That's worth a read.
yeah,
Uh,
I forgot what it was called. It's something cop because I know it's what was it? I think it was somewhere in Asia because I know because they call it something copy, and I know there's no F, so they just say COPI instead of coffee. That's how they kind of spell it.
okay.
Yeah, I think, and I only know that because I used to learn Korean. I mean, I used to know Korean, and there's no F, there's no X in the alphabet, and I know it's similar in I forgot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Cambodia or Vietnam. It's somewhere around there, but I'll send you the article for sure.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, but basically like the point that I'm trying to make is like we don't know the consciousness that some of these animals have. Like maybe they don't have the level of consciousness that we do, or maybe they do, or even higher, but they just play it out to be like, oh yeah, I'm just like a dumb like I don't know rabbit, but you don't know what I'm doing behind the scenes.
Yeah. Or maybe maybe they know what we're saying. We're the dumb ones that haven't cracked their language yet. We need the animal Rosetta Stone.
Exactly, like because you hear all that time. You hear the
Whoa.
like, oh, your phone, yeah, your phone kind of moved a little bit.
That mine or yours?
Uh, I might have been. I don't think it's mine because mine's pretty static.
There we go. Sorry about that. A little static
No,
there.
you're good. No, you're good. So because like we know about like dolphins and like whales and like how they have a very intricate language between themselves and everything.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, even pigs, man.
And
Like you see
insects
pig.
like bees dance and stuff. Or yeah, they do all kinds of ants do weird stuff. Like animals are a trip.
Yeah, and like there's like certain parasites that's kind of crazy how they infect the host and then they take control of it until they're ready to mature and they just like sprout out of the host and end up by doing that they end up killing the host obviously. But the fact, like I think I've seen a video where some kind of worm was coming out of a mantis, but that mantis was like controlled by it and like basically it took it to get it basically drowned itself because of the
Oh, that's
worm.
awful.
Yeah, but the worm made it do that though. That's a crazy thing.
No,
Like
thank you.
it's
No,
like, dude,
thank you.
this is stuff that's coming out like alien movies, but you see it in insect life. Like what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So I mean, and these are, I mean, there's obviously scary things to think about, but at the same time, that's the awesomeness of nature. And like they say, Mother Nature can be a bitch sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah. But to bring it back to the backpacking thing, so
Yeah, we
um
got off tangent a little bit there. Oh well.
no, it was perfect. Like honestly, like we were talking about the outdoors and nature, so I mean that's all relevant
Yeah,
because like
it's all good.
yeah, because I mean especially when you're backpacking and I mean obviously you see all these awesome things, you see all these awesome like wildlife landscape. Like what about it? Like I know you started doing it when you met your girlfriend, but like what inspired you to kind of be like, oh, like I'm gonna keep doing this, or or if you like, I'm pretty sure you and your girlfriend have talked about it. Like what inspired you guys to do this in the first place?
Um, we just we both really just feel that the stuff that's hard when you're out there on the trail is compared to the stuff that's hard in real life. Like out there, it's a lot more like worthwhile to do. It, sorry, I'm having trouble like describing that. Yeah, it's just the hard stuff isn't as hard when the rewarding stuff is far more rewarding. It's just so unreal sometimes when you're out there and we did, I think it was my first or second trip. Maddie took me to one of her favorite places. I'm not going to name any names, but we hiked out there and I was after I got off work and I got off work a little bit late and we hiked out there in the complete pitch black using headlamps, set up tent, and I woke up in the morning and it was just in this granite mecca and that just blew my mind. And I didn't even catch any fish on that trip, but uh, just waking up in a whole nother world like that, I was like, okay, I got to keep doing this. I haven't gotten any more blind reveals like that, but I'm
Damn,
just so in love with it.
that sounds amazing. Like, and I think to your point where you're saying like the struggles that we think we're facing in like I guess city life or even suburban life. Um, I feel like sometimes and it ties into mental health, of course, because like a lot of times those are artificially manufactured, and
Yeah,
we get caught up in thinking like there's no other way. But then here's the outdoors, or in your case, here's an example of yeah, no, there are struggles that are real, and if you get through those struggles, there's rewards at the end. So at that point, it's like it's a struggle, yes, but it's more like hard work to achieve like some kind of like reward, right? So I
yeah,
think there's definitely merit to that, and there's definitely um, like some mental relief coming from that as well.
oh yeah. Something about just wading out waist deep into the middle of these lakes at 9,000 feet when there's no one around and whipping a fly rod around or a tenkara rod. Sorry, it's not a real fly rod, but whipping it, whipping a tenkara rod around and catching these fish, just and then waking up and doing it again in the morning. Like, yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
to come. I never want to come home. Sign me up for the 5 month trail all year.
Dude, like I can't wait to see it. Like when, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, even if you don't put it like in real time, you're eventually gonna put it up like somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
I'll obviously I won't be able to be as active on social media as I am now, but it's going to be next year, ideally starting in April, and
Mhm.
um, I'll try to get on a couple times a week, post updates, and keep everybody posted, and hopefully post some pictures of fish. I know the allegedly the first 800 miles of the trail there's no fishable water, but I think I might still bring my rod. I mean, it's just like I said, it's only 2 extra ounces. I mean, one, I want to be able to say that I took the rod with me for the whole trip, and two, I'm I'm having a hard time believing that in 800 miles, when there is water that you like scoop up that you can drink, in 800 miles, there's nowhere that I can fish. Even if I have to and
Yeah.
we have to go into town and resupply in town, and there's no little pond in this town that I can whip out my rod and catch a bluegill somewhere down in Florida, or not Florida, but down in SoCal, down in the desert. We'll see.
That,
I'll be the
yeah,
judge of that next year.
sounds like a challenge to me. Yeah, no, I definitely want to try because I have thought about buying a fly rod. I'm just because I mean I've only really fished for the past year, so.
If you'd like to get into tenkara fishing, I actually just kind of teamed up in a partnership of sorts with Tenkara Rod Co. And I have a
Mhm.
discount code, my name, NorCal Tenkara. Enter that at checkout for 20% off. And so
Oh, dude, I'm down.
that'll also earn me a little kickback to help fuel my adventures, help fund the PCT fuel. But yeah, most of their rods are, I think, in the $150 to $200 range. I have the
Mhm.
Sierra rod. That was my first rod, and I fell in love. It's their 10.5 foot rod.
Mhm.
It's just beautiful. But I've been gracious enough to receive the Yari rod to help promote it and check it out. And it's the nicest rod I've ever owned in my life. It's the 12-foot rod, 80% carbon, 20% fiberglass, and
Mhm.
it's a piece of art.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
dude. I'll definitely hit you up like when I get into that because it's like because especially once you started showing me like once I started picking your brain about that, I was like, this sounds like a challenge. I really want to like get into it, you know?
oh yeah, it's and bluegill are so fun. There's a little pond right here in town, and me and my buddies used to just go there and slay them.
It's kind of funny how like they're tiny, they're bait fish, but they fight pretty hard for their size. Like you know,
Oh
like
yeah, I
yeah.
actually have a 17-foot rod called a K-Roo rod, and
Hmm.
it's funny, you can feel the tiniest little bluegill this big just pecking at your fly at the end of the 17 foot, and it's almost as fun as it is obnoxiously like overkill. Like I think how overkill it is makes it more fun.
Yeah, it's really weird because that tug that they do when like because I mean I've done it with I'm doing it currently with what is it, a 6 foot rod and and the rod is actually for panfish, but I'm also well I mean the bluegill is a panfish, but I was
Yeah.
talking specifically targeting specifically crappie, and then the bluegill started biting into it and I like I said in that post when I first started posting about the panfish, like I haven't caught a bluegill on purpose ever. Like I've caught them just because like I've used tiny crankbaits that are like maybe like a quarter inch or half an inch, and I was just it was when I first started fishing. I didn't know any better, so I just threw them out there and started reeling, and the sunfish were going nuts for them, and that's the only time I ever caught sunfish on purpose. I've caught them as like like off on a crank where they bite the hook for some odd reason, and I'm just reeling in. And turns out, oh, I have a little bluegill at the end of the of this crank,
We always
and
catch them bobber fishing with worms growing up.
I've heard, man, but I mean, my parents never took me fishing. It's something that I had to learn on my own. So, and
Okay.
I'm definitely gonna pass that on though if I do have kids. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
bluegill are they're underrated.
Oh yeah.
They're underrated eating too, but you just need like 35, 40 of them because you only get this much meat.
They're not even enough for a fish stick
Mm-mm.
or for a fish
Here,
nugget.
at least here in California, last I checked, I don't keep fish often, but last I checked, bluegill were no limit. You can keep as many as you want. You just golly, it's a
Ah.
pain. It's a pain cleaning 40 bluegill to get 40 tiny little bites of meat, but golly, it's good.
Yeah, like I've seen
It's
people
better
frying
than
them whole.
it's better than crappie.
Oh, you think it's better than crappie?
It's better than crappie.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to catch
You-
one of each.
hmm Yeah, do a blind taste test with somebody.
Oh, dude, we have to do that for sure. I have to do that. You just gave me a good video idea.
Glad to
But
help.
yeah, but I was gonna say, so yeah, so I know like you said 150 for that rod that you talked about. Was it the Sierra? And
Yeah, the Sierra actually I think is 140, but I'm not sure about that. I'll have to check.
okay, so around 140. That may, I mean, for some people that might be listening, that might seem like a lot, but even fly fishing starts off pretty like around 200, I think. Like,
And
so
you also got to remember that you don't need to buy a reel. You
yeah.
only need to buy the rod. Half the time when you're fly fishing, you got to buy $100 reel and $100 rod. So
Hmm. Well, I think I haven't seen, I mean, unless I've checked in the wrong spots, but I haven't seen a rod that's less than like 180. So you're talking about 180 plus $100 for the reel. That's 280 just to get started, you
yeah, and then
know.
you need all kinds of like you need four types of line and yeah, tenkara is much nicer, much simpler for my
But
style.
this transitions into a perfect topic. For example, like the necessity of learning a skill, because tenkara fishing definitely definitely a skill, and I see the value of it considering that you talked about like how like slim the profile is. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
I
have it
think,
right here. I can show you it actually.
oh, perfect.
Let me scoot back. So let me get it in frame. This is my rod.
Uh,
It's not
Probably like about 2 feet fully like
20,
what is it?
21 inches, but yeah,
Mm.
this one's here. I'm not going to extend the whole thing out in the house. My cat will go nuts. But it telescopes down, and then
Ooh,
you tie your line onto the tip of that, and just, yeah, it's pretty
dang,
fun, man.
damn,
Um, and
yes.
use the code NorCal10car at checkout for 20% off anything at the site.
Hmm.
And also, if if you've also checked out other things on my Instagram page, you've seen these Akari Fly Boxes. It holds your line and it holds some flies inside. You can use the code with them also.
Mm.
I don't believe it gets you a discount with them, but it does earn me a small portion back to help fuel my adventures. I partner up with Akari to do my fly drops when I sell my flies.
Nice.
And one more quick plug, the NorCal Tenkara code also works with fishgods.co, which if you haven't heard of them, you really need to check them out. They make a clean earth reusable trash bag.
Oh,
It
that's right.
weighs less than a pound and it clips onto your hip. And when you're out fishing or out hiking, you have no excuse not to pick up those pieces of trash. And the code NorCal Tenkara gets you 10% off one of those. So,
Well, you're definitely going to get a chance to do the plugs again towards the end of this episode.
oh,
I'm going
I'm
to give you.
sorry.
No, no,
I
no.
thought that
That's
was my
fine.
chance. Oops.
No, no, no. You're going to get another chance because, like, when you said it the first time, I was like, yeah, like that's fine. Like, you know,
Ah,
dude, don't no worry, no worries about that. But you're going to get a chance for sure to say it again because I do want you to. Because I think especially the fish gods with the clippable trash bag. I think that's
yeah, I
something that
wish I
would
had
probably.
one handy right here. They're out in the garage.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna have to get one of those because, like I said, like I've seen just random trash and I can just pick up something, and but yeah. So we were talking about the skill. Um, so I think there's I mean, I'm pretty sure because I mean, again, you know the skill, the amount of skill that's required when you're fly fishing with a tenkara rod. I think that's something that we're missing a lot of days because we think of skills kind of like computer skills and things like that. And yeah, that's a skill within itself, like programming. But like something manual, something that you have to like actually use your hands. Like I think those kind of skills are what missing too, because it doesn't give maybe not only because it's another way of gaining purpose, but at the same time, like if you find yourself in a rut, they can definitely help you out. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
because I mean, like you could like obviously like in the times like if you're out backpacking I mean, like I know you said that the times that you intended to eat the fish and do the catch and cook, you haven't, but there's been times where you were able to get extra calories for the packing trip, and that's super useful.
Yeah, the biggest thing with that was we used to bring a like a backpacking frying pan, like a titanium frying pan.
Hmm.
And it was great if we caught fish and the I think it worked out once or twice that we were able to use it to cook fish. But then the whole rest of the trip, especially on multi-day trips, now we have this greasy pan to carry around, and now we have to put it in our bear bag every night. And so
Mm.
that also turned kind of inconvenient. And so it's more like if we're at a campsite that has a grate over a campfire that we're allowed to have, then maybe if I happen to catch a fish, maybe we'll eat it.
You can
The stars
do,
really have to align.
yeah. I've thought about that too as well. But I have seen people that cook directly over coals, and just throw the protein over that. I don't know how that works. I need to research a little bit that. And like I said, cooking is a skill, and it definitely comes in handy. I know for me, cooking definitely is a very therapeutic, just because I mean, I'm putting the effort into making something delicious, and when I eat it and it's delicious, I'm like, whoa, this is good. And even better when you share it with people and they also say like, oh, this is really good. For me, kind of definitely, makes me happy a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and that's I think one thing that maybe I encourage, just as a sense of like, hey, if you got the extra time, learn a skill, something that you can apply to different aspects of life, not just one. I mean, like something that may seem like a hobby, like fishing. You never know when you might need it for survival.
Or sewing. Sewing's
Or
a really overlooked hobby. Often like made fun of if you tell your friends you're gonna go sew. But hey, it's that's a pretty handy hobby to have.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. Also, there's a company called Origin, and apparently, I don't know how true this is, but apparently they were talking about like how because manufacturing went away from the United States, so not a whole lot of people know how to make shoes from scratch like how they used to do. Not a whole lot of people know how to use a loom or even fix one. And same thing with the sewing. A lot of people like they don't sew, they don't knit and all that stuff. So because again, it's underrated, and then
Yeah.
it's
Um,
we can't.
what I never learned how to knit, but I knew how to crochet.
Mm,
My mom used to enlist my brother and I probably to help make pot holders to give away as Christmas gifts, but we both did have to learn how to crochet growing up.
interesting. I think my
My
mom did that, but I never learned just because. Yeah.
crocheting is the one with one needle, whereas knitting
Okay.
is two needles. And
So
my,
yeah,
my
she that.
brother learned macrame. I never got that one though.
What's macrame?
It's more like I think it's more like knitting, and you knit together like ropes.
Mm,
What's the name of the rope? It's like you ever see those plant like they're hanging baskets that hang plants outside. A lot of
yeah.
time they're like hippies' houses.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of stuff. That's a macrame basket.
Oh,
Yeah, so we used to do those and give those away as gifts.
nice.
That one
Yeah.
was more my brother though. I crocheted. He got into the macrame a little bit.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, well, it's again like having a skill and practicing it. The one thing I did learn from fishing that I didn't have even before that was patience. Like, so learning how to fish, I learned
Oh
patience
yeah.
first. Yeah, exactly. Just to even know how to use a rod, reel, baitcaster, a certain type of
To
lure.
tie on a knot that's this big.
Dude, my first. Okay, I'm gonna be embarrassed, but I gotta say it. The way I used to tie my lures, four overhand knots. That's it.
I
I
got
was
a
just like,
buddy that still does that.
dude, I don't even know how and I caught a 4 pound bass like that. And
Yeah,
that was like the first few times I cast it. So I figured, all right, I'm good to go.
it
And then I
worked.
started losing fish because of that. Like,
Oh,
and my
yeah.
buddy's like, I taught you the fisherman's knot, or what's known as the improved clinch knot. I was like, I'm like, And I'm like, I know, but it was too hard. Like, how is it too hard? You just spin the thing and then put them
Spin
through.
it.
Yeah, it's like, and I was just like, it's just too much work. And because again, I wasn't a patient person, so I just wanted to like get everything going and go. But it requires patience to learn a skill for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But we're about 5 minutes in. Any last final thoughts regarding what we talked about? Anything that you want to kind of give out? Obviously, if you want to plug
Yeah,
the
no, yeah,
discount codes now.
just did my little plugs, but hey, NorCal Tenkara is the discount code. As of now, it works at Tenkara Rodco for 20% off, fishgods.co for 10% off, or Akari for kickbacks, little extra kickback for me. I also partner up with Akari to do my fly drops. We just did drop number 2, and I'll be working on a drop number 3 here shortly. Those are also helping to fund my PCT journey, and that's
Right on.
the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada. For anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah, I used to take the Surfliner from SoCal to Santa Barbara. Well, from LA to Santa Barbara, and just get drunk on it, and then get off in Santa Barbara and go to the beach, and then come back on. But yeah, so I mean, I'm familiar with the PCH. I didn't know the PCT, but yeah, so that's awesome, and I'll definitely put that the discount codes in the description as well.
Sweet,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, I'll put that in the description on YouTube and also on the when I announce it on Instagram. But send me a picture of like however you want, like like your equipment or whatever, like just a nice picture like with your flies and then the rod. That way I can use that as a cover for the announcement. That way people get a visual
Okay,
of what it is.
I think I got a good one.
Yeah, so I'll definitely put it that way. The only final thought that I would say, again, I know I didn't really talk about it a whole lot just because it came out towards the end, but definitely consider learning a new skill. Consider practicing an existing skill.
Yeah,
Anything that keeps you
any
busy.
skill
Yeah.
doesn't have ideally anything that keeps your hands moving.
Mm-hmm.
I got into fly tying um, probably a year ago, and that's been one of the greatest hobbies I've found. I think my girlfriend got me a kit to get me started, and it's evolved from there. It's probably the most relaxing hobby I have, and I've never found myself to be artistic, and it's probably the only artistic thing I've been able to do. So I think
There
it's
you
great.
go. There you go. You said it yourself,
Anybody
the
that
most
thinks it
relaxing.
might be too hard, don't be afraid to try.
And see, there you go. There's your final thought right there. Anybody thinks it's too hard, don't be afraid to try it. Like, yeah, good point. And like you said yourself, relaxing. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, I'll piggyback off of that and just say that we get caught up in the hustle and bustle and of just getting through life and what we think is reality, but sometimes we're not necessarily living in it. So uh, it's okay to slow down. Like Nick said, learn a new skill, and if something
Smell the
looks
flowers.
hard, what happened?
Stop and smell the flowers.
Yeah, exactly. Stop and smell the flowers. If it seems too hard, jump right in it. Uh, a lot of times, like because you brought up the artistic part, a lot of times people doubt themselves before they even try, and you never know how artistic you can really be until you try something.
It's true.
So, yeah,
And there's a phrase in the backpacking community called hike your own hike. Like, don't let someone else tell you how to do your trip, plan your trip your own way. I translate that into the fishing community and I say fish your own fish. If you're
mm-hmm.
catching a fish, or even if you're not catching a fish, I don't care if you're catching them or not. Don't let someone tell you that you're fishing wrong. If you're not asking for advice, that's fine. If you want help and you want like that's one thing, but don't let anyone tell you unsolicitedly that you're fishing wrong. They're wrong for saying that.
Absolutely, that's 100%. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. So, all right, so really quick, where can everybody find you? I know so NorCal Tenkara. That's
Instagram
T,
at NorCal Tenkara.
and that's the only thing you have Instagram.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel that I don't use, so I'm not. It's not even worth plugging.
Mm, gotcha. All right, well, cool. Well, that's it for this episode.
Th-
Just yeah, really
th-
quick.
th-
Stay off when we pause the recording, and yeah. So
Thank you so much, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, no, thank you for being on, and I definitely enjoyed the conversation. And to all those, I hope you enjoyed listening and watching. See you for the next episode.